Hi, this is Ushio, and welcome back to Betweenside. Last video, we finished Act 2. We explored the room of the deceased uncle and checked out some of the stuff, and there were these figures outside of the room, and the character you're playing as, he panics and he tries to escape. So that's what happened before. Let's see what happens next. Okay. Oh, hey, where are we? Okay, it says, I became. There's the room. I became more than a man. I became a memory. Here's the room, and there is... oh shit, what is going on? There's a spider on the bed, and the room is very different from before. What is going on here? What the hell? There's all shit coming through that window. Alright, let's... okay, we're inside. Monday, January 10th, 1921, 11:48 p.m. Ain't right, the elderly caretaker had said, nosing around his keepsake at this hour. Why, you asked? My train leaves for London early tomorrow morning. I have no time for superstition. You'll conjure up a ghost or something in the dark. Give yourself a fright, the caretaker sighed. Vincent, Mr. Trezilian said. You shook your head and smiled, and then thanked the caretaker for his help, and then left the caretaker in silence. Thank him for his help. You thanked him for his help in finding the room, if not for his condescension. 2 days previous, the patriarch of this grand family home, Vincent Trezilian, died. He was survived only by his late sister's children, a niece and 2 nephews, all just beginning adulthood. You have been employed as family attorney to execute the will, a job completed once you have intervened the items bequeathed by their uncle. For the past couple of years, Mr. Trezilian refused to leave his chamber. All his valued possessions lie inside the room in which he lived and died. So, if I remember correctly, this is kind of how Act 1 started with these statements, but obviously the room is completely different. So let's have a look. Okay, back in the room. Looks like the room's back to normal. There's a bedpan. Okay. Things... so what's new? Has everything been restored? There's a person still outside. It does look like a couple of these items that we visited before. It looks like they're back in action. So what should we do? Shall we have a look at something that was... that's new. That's new. So maybe you can revisit stuff. Or maybe I should check out the new things. This thing on the floor is absolutely new. There's a pencil or something. Alright, there's like a stopwatch. Let's try that. The bells sang silently in the church tower. A crow cawed. In the graveyard, a mist descended on a solitary figure, too focused on his study to notice the slick chill of the dusk air. He had been there each night for many weeks, watching, inferring, deducting. Suddenly, the figure rose. A flash of inspiration had come upon him. A truth revealed of a terrible but glorious nature. He returned to his room to begin his monstrous experiment. The graveyard keeper never saw him again. Okay, we'll go with that. That's kind of weird. You reach down and pick up the pocket watch. It's a plain, fairly heavy instrument running at least a quarter hour slow. The metal is tarnished and the quality of the construction substandard. It's quite unlike anything Vincent would own, and it's not mentioned in the will. On the back is engraved, always, Eli. Okay. Put it back down, put it on the table. Don't leave it on the floor. So, we put it down somewhere? Where do we put it? On the table? Okay. So, it seems like time shifts. So, every time you look at something, the light quality changes. Shall we try this window again? Because this person's still outside. How are you doing? Stopping for a moment at the edge of the market, the woman gazed over the stalls and the people. It was a hot day in Kabul, and tempers were raised. The usual shouts of sellers were tinged with actual malice. She saw an English soldier point at a vase and shout at the man trying to sell it to him. The incident grew violent, and the woman watched the soldier walk away with his prize. These English... oh wow, so when we looked at it before, we chose to decide whether... when we picked up the vase, I remember this, And you could choose whether you threatened the seller to take the vase with violence or whether you bartered him down. So in this instance, it looks like we're seeing this from a different person's perspective. And it looks like we're not being very nice. Okay, these English, they're such violent, disrespectful people. Okay, we'll go with that. You look out the window into the street below. It's dark, raining heavily, but in the glow of a solitary street lamp, you think you make out a figure. About as tall as you are, its features are impossible to determine, but it's staring at you. There's something off about the figure, almost human. Okay, so last time I stared. This time I'm going to wave. Hello? You raise your left hand in greeting. The edges of the creature distort and convulse, yet its body remains motionless. Too motionless. Like a dead thing. Its gaze remains fixed on yours. Okay. Sure. Let's break eye contact. Let's go somewhere else. So, it looks like we're starting to revisit things, and now that we've seen aspects of the story the first time, now we're getting it from a new angle. So, yeah. Also, this game totally puts me on edge. I'm a little bit worried. Okay, let's check out the doggy. How you doing, doggy? Artist stared at model, and model at artist. She'd never been asked to paint a dog before. It was an unusual request for a portrait artist, but she wasn't in a position to say no to paying work. It was an easier commission than expected. The dog, like its owner, seemed content to sit in one spot for hours, lost in whatever contemplation suited them. The artist turned back to her work. She dabbed a little white paint on the canvas to bring out the shine of his eyes. Nothing wrong with that. We'll stick with that. Clerval had been a loyal dog before he died, and Vincent withdrew from the world outside. Neither dog nor owner were of an emotional temperament. Vincent had learned long ago to never let the inside out. Yet one of his animals passed. He could not stop from weeping. Okay. So that was the dog. It's night time. I'm worried. I think... Oh! There's someone there. When I notice a person... Yeah, it does it does creep me out. Okay. We are... underneath. Okay. And there's something over there. Okay. Let's head toward it. What is this? Like a round thingy. Let's approach. Hello? A raven perched on the metal fence surrounding Her Majesty's park. It startled as a man fell back onto the railings. He looked up to see a baton fall on his head and slipped into a peaceful black. Nothingness briefly overwhelmed him. He became aware of the soreness of his joints, then the cold air on his face, then the silence broken by a man's shouting. He opened his eyes and saw Joan, his friend and lover, standing over him. "We've got to go," he said. On the ground lay the police officer, his head sinking into the pool of red. A blooded rock lay next to him. "He wouldn't stop, Lucien," Joan said. "He was going to kill you." The body was not found in time for the morning papers. Oh, man. But the afternoon, the crime was fixed in print. March 15th, 1869. Shocking murder of a constable, Mr. Edson Lee, discovered in Hyde Park. Two men in their 20s, believed to be there, engaged in the unspeakable act of, seen fleeing the area. We have to leave London. Okay, escape to the countryside. The two men were in a dark, discreet tavern. No, I can't. Then you'll be hanged. Joan gulped his beer. There's refuge here, he said. Our community. You think you can just hide in a free and easy until this goes away? Of course not, but staying here is better than going it alone. You're a fool, Lucien said. Okay, interesting. Alright, so there was a murder because of, I'm assuming, like a homosexual relationship, which in 1869 was probably very much not good with the police. Okay. Alright. What should we do next? How about the mirror? Inside a shabby theatre on the wrong side of London, a crowd awaited the second act. The tattered curtain rose, and there stood Romeo, as imitated by a dishevelled middle-aged man. Juliet waited until her moment, then climbed the rickety wooden frame to her window. Romeo compared her to a morning sun in his flat cockney tones, yet Juliet's performance, despite her youth, evoked the passions of all the great heroines of the world in one. She looked and saw her Prince Charming above the audience, as she saw him every performance. This day he had a proposal for her. Okay, let's rewrite then. And there stood, oh no, Romeo and, I can't type, Juliet in the best performance that had ever been seen. Okay, we'll go with that. You stare into the surface of the mirror. Curiously, you can't see your own reflection. It might be too dark. You have the strangest feeling, though, as if you're seeing something improbably far away. Indeed, the more you look, the more dissimilarities you see. That painting is not so crooked here. The bottle does not exist in the mirror world. Perhaps that is the real world, and this is the mirror, and it is I who do not exist, you think. But if I don't exist, how can I feel dread flood my every pore? It was the crudest trick of a capricious god to create such creatures that feel pain but not empathy. You blink. What silly tricks your mind plays. Alone, in the dark, you hope. Okay, so then we can pick who it goes to. Who did we give it to before? I can't remember. Let's give it to the youngest nephew. I'm not sure who I gave it to before. So yeah, it is true though. When you look in the mirror, look, there's the English flag, but on this side it's kind of black and white. Then there's the painting, and on this side it's straight. So yeah, there, as it says, and the candle. Oh, we never looked at this before. What's this? As the onion sweetened in the hot butter, the cook thinly sliced a clove of garlic. He added with a few handfuls of cherry tomatoes freshly picked from the garden, and a diced fig. A little salt and a splash of port was all that was needed to encourage tomato to become sauce. The cook tore a few leaves of basil from a plant on the windowsill and stirred it in. Sugars from the fruit began to caramelize and give the sauce its sweet but subtle flavour. It would pair wonderfully with the salmon roasting in the oven. The butler opened the kitchen door. Master has decided he would rather have a stew this evening. Okay. Master, you should have done better. A valuable collection of tomes, amassed by the one unafraid of prescribed knowledge. Two appeared to be better tended to, both written under the pseudonym Woolston. Okay, read the book of Forgotten Villages, or read the book on the exhausted forests of this land. Tell me about the Forgotten Villages. Some places we remember despite our wish to forget, yet many are forgotten when there is need to pay witness. Few miss the village of Icum, where the men did sing in unseemly tones. Every summer solstice they would dance until their feet were wet with the blood the now mudded ground craved. Then there was Nettlecote, where the children were taught only to obey their mothers, and, when their teeth came through, would defy God to consume the fathers who had yet to escape their chains. All these places gone, their quaint traditions lost to the indifference of time, warnings unheeded on what good people must sacrifice to dwell on malignant land. Okay, leave it to the niece, who would learn all the secret places that cannot be perceived by ignorant eyes yet are known to all. Leave it to the elder nephew, who would see that none outside the family would read them and gain advantage. Or leave it to the younger nephew, who would read them backwards to unlearn that which allows him to see. We'll go with the niece. Okay, weird. Shall we just stay over here? What's this? Mask. A mist tinged red with the dawn hung over the hills. The baker's son sat on the damp rock high above any road on trail. He was alone there, except for an old man walking a young dog far across the field. Clerval, he heard the man call when the hound ran too far. The boy thought about, I don't know, throwing the dog a stick because he liked dogs. Okay, we'll do that. For a while, when Vincent was young, Venetian masked balls were all the rage in London. This mask allowed him to be braver than he was, to do things he could otherwise be afraid to do. He could be disassociated from his own actions, safeguarded from himself. It feels so very light in your hands. As you pick it up, you bring it to your face, and through its empty eyes, everything looks different. The dark, not frightening, but a place to hide. Okay, a night time of wonder. Do not feel, just do. Do not waste your time caring for others. Care only for yourself, and others will do likewise. Anger flows through you. Yes, it all makes sense now. How could you have held yourself back by carrying what others thought, what others felt, what pain they suffered? There is no morality, only you. Take your humanity, kill it. Then there will only be this, the pure expression of fear, nothing else. The mask falls. The mask falls from your face as your fingers go numb. A tear runs down your cheek. Your other hand picks up the mask and puts it carefully back in its place. You rub your numb hand, trying in vain to get the blood flowing. It can move, but it can no longer feel. It's a dead thing, animated, capable of acting, but with no purpose or hope in doing so. God, you need a holiday. Alright, younger nephew, who in defiance of ambition refuses to absolve himself. The niece, who understands that caring is a luxury, like sugar, indulged in frequently. Give it to the elder nephew, though he has gone beyond the need for a mask. So far we haven't given the elder nephew anything, I don't think, so we'll go with that. Okay. So how are we doing? Is it night time again? Does that mean we're going to get another visit from someone? No. There's still stuff here. Let's read something else. What have we got? There's a heart, an envelope. What was that? People? What are these ones? Not sure what that is. Let's try that one. The coroner examined the policeman's body. A deep gash in the head, probably been hit with something heavy like a rock. Must have lost consciousness instantly. Doubt he felt any pain. Bruising on his knuckle. He defended himself against them, or maybe it was the other way around. Probably took too great an interest in the work of some Mary Ann's, or one way or the other. The coroner had heard of it before, too often. Yeah, so this is what we were talking about before, where the person got killed. Alright, we'll live with the pain. Let's see what happens. The History of My Esteemed Family was Vincent Trezilian's final work. It is comprehensive, covering their humble working roots through their trespass into respectability. It includes an account of his mother's aunt, Mary Allen Sneath, a scholar and prolific writer, much respected in her own time. Any good student of ancient history and forgotten knowledge will know her early work, yet her later writings were seen as too metaphysical. Few copies survive of her study of the Roman blood emperor, nor the rituals of forgotten villages, nor the purposes of great forests. Spells and dances, songs and ceremonies filled these tomes. She was ostracized from society, but never her family, who embraced her new understanding. Perhaps there was something to her superstition. For none can remember if or when she died. The draft manuscript was completed on the day of Vincent Trezilian's death, and is only in need of a competent editor. Oh wow. The niece would see it published in full according to her uncle's wishes. The elder nephew see it modified. Their enemies do not need to know of their base lineage, nor less virtuous acts. Okay. The younger nephew would learn of the crimes of his ancestors, that he might work to undo them. We've been living with the pain a lot lately, so we'll go with the niece. Okay. Normally, is something going to happen? Oh! Ah, shit. Okay, so the tree's back. Light. Okay. Okay, we need to go to the white blobs. It's... Why does the bed disappear? It's... fucking light. I find it so stressful. No, light. Good. There's the radio. Was that there before? Okay, let's go on over here. Okay. Oh, there went the light. Come on, go. Mirror. No, back over here. Chair. What's that? The letter. Light. Okay, so the door. No, I'm back. Okay. Oh, okay, we're outside. Alright, so the record is spinning. And normally there's someone else out here. Normally someone shares this space with us as we're looking inside. So here's something. It's kind of like a... I don't know, like a dandelion or something? Let's have a look. Okay, hello. There we go. Lucian returned to the table, setting down 2 new pints of porter. You've never been outside the city, have you? Joan said. No. Joan frowned. I grew up in this provincial town. When I left, I swore I'd never live in a place like that again. My dad begged me to stay, Joan said. Wanted me to take after him. Joan, my father said, here you have a job. Should I wish to waste my life pampering posh fools? Your family is here, he said, though it was not one I would have chosen. How unfortunate to be born in a time like this. My family had it all planned out. Marry a local girl, take over from my father when he retired, live a life of comfort and mediocrity. Obviously, that was never going to work out. Everything is too small outside London. The buildings, the communities, the mines. There's not enough room to be myself, and I refuse to be anybody else. Compromise, Lucian said. We go to Birmingham. Joan shook his head. I will not stay here to be strung up, Lucian said, and I want us to stay together. There was a silence for a few moments. Joan took a long, contemplative drink from his glass, then said, Fine. Okay, so I think that is that for this gameplay. Okay, the mysteries are starting to be explained. And so, yeah, let's keep exploring. This is Usho signing off, and hopefully I will see you next time.